welcome to Vibrational Revelations. Today's episode is on the vibrational symphony of consciousness, the cosmic secrets of number 9 and number 1000. So we're going to dive deep into what the scale of consciousness means. As you know, through the last 3.5 years, it has been evolving like any science. There's always evolution. So we're going to present to you what all of the numbers mean and where actually it comes from. So Alejandro has been doing this research for months now. It has been months trying to figure out the pattern and what is the universe communicating through the numbers by using, of course, for us, it has been using scalar wave technology and the different levels and different frequencies of what it all means. So we're going to pull up and actually share our screen with you with the slides. Can you all see? Raise your hand if you can see it. Just let us know. Great. Wonderful. Alejandro, they're all yours.
They're all mine.
Yes, they're waiting to hear from you.
That's a lot of responsibility.
Yes.
Well, initially, I wanted to figure out where and how the 1000 was established or brought from, right? Or how is it that people decided that the 1000 was the limit for the human experience in this reality? And as I was just searching and going through different ancient Indian
Vedic texts,
philosophies, I came across, that the 1000 came from the 1000 petal, which signifies the crown chakra. It signifies the crown chakra being fully opened, right? And it signifies the enlightenment and the maximum, I would say, level that one can achieve in this reality when it comes to a spiritual growth. And the 1000, as we know it, when it comes to the scale of consciousness, it signifies the lack of resistance, right? Where everything just flows freely without any interruptions, disruptions, any energetic blockages. Now, I said, okay, this is how the 1000 was established, that it was grabbed. And then we can do another episode to dive deeper into how they came up with the 1000 petal, right? And in this case, we're going to share whatever is related to the scale of consciousness. And then I thought, okay, this is how the 1000 was established. Yeah, makes sense. We know where Yeshua, known as Jesus Christ, vibrates at, and the experience he had in this reality when it comes to vibrational frequencies. And so I thought, okay, well, it makes sense that is the limit for this human experience. Now, how is it that the full scale came to be from 0 to 1000, or from, well, we begin at 20, right? We assume that the 0 is the beginning. It has to be, mathematically speaking. But from 20 up to 1000. So I doing more research, I came across this ancient writings from India that showed a chakra system to where it was from 200 up to 1000. And as we know, each chakra is linked to a specific emotion, right? Or it could be a couple, 3 or 4 or 5, or I don't know how many exactly, but many emotions. We just used one as point of reference. And then I thought, okay, great. So diving into each chakra and looking into the emotions that are linked to each chakra when it's balanced, because from 200 up to 1000 was only showing the balanced chakras, right? And then I started looking at the emotions and measuring the frequencies of each emotion. And that's how the other emotions were plugged in between the numbers that were shown on this particular chart, which are between 200, you have 200 to 50, then 300, then the 310 was plugged in, then the 350 was plugged in, then the 400 was plugged in, just as of doing and testing different emotions. Now, then I thought, okay, how do we come about a full-blown scale from whatever it is, from 0 to 200 or below 200 or 199, and by measuring the emotions that are linked to an imbalance chakra, that we have classified those as negative emotions. That's how, based on the frequencies, these negative emotions were plugged in below 200, 175, 150, 125, 100, 75, and now 55, 30, and 20. So that's how the full scale came to be. Yes, from 20 up to 1000. But the core of it all is from ancient Indian texts, yes, or philosophies. Well, by looking at this chakra system from 200 to 1000, I thought, is there a pattern that it has been replicated or duplicated or repeated when you go from the chakra system that it begins at 200 and ends at 1000, and the full-blown scale that we have now from 20 to 1000? Well, I couldn't really find anything, and by looking at the numbers, mathematically speaking, within my ability to decipher that mathematically, there was nothing really when it comes to numbers. I thought, how is it that this came about, right? And then eventually I found a pattern, which was that the sum of the gaps between each number, and like I said, in mathematics, you're going to begin from 0. So in this case, is you from between 0 and 200, you have a 200 as a gap. Between 200 and 250 is 50, and so forth, all the way to 1000. And that, when you add the gaps between the numbers, you get a 1000, which is also the 1000 that we use as the limit for the human experience, right? When it comes to spiritual growth. Now, from there, I thought, okay, about what other patterns can I find? When it comes to levels, they had only 7 levels, right? Which is totals of, when you add the numbers of each level, you come up with 28, and that you reduce that to 1 digit, that's 1. And 1 signifies beginning, right? That's it. So I thought maybe this is really, well, if you look at both scales, I mean, you recognize that one could be the beginning, and the other one is sort of like the beginning of this project, or the beginning of this scale, and the full-blown scale is a completion, right? So now I added all the frequencies, the numbers, and I added the 1 digits, reduced the frequencies to 1 digit, and reduced the gaps to 1 digit. Anyways, then I went into the full-blown scale to see if that gap was replicated, right? Or that is how all the numbers came to be, based on keeping in mind the actual gap, that the gap between the frequencies, once you sum all of them, you will get 1000 as a total. Well, before we had the 55 was 50. So by adding the gaps of the full-blown scale before we adjusted it to 55, it was 995, right? And instead of the 1000. So I felt that there was somehow that full-blown scale came to be, obviously without having mathematics or numbers in mind, and without having the pattern recognized from the chakra system to where everything pretty much originated, having the intention to replicate that gap, that pattern. So it was there were 5 points missing, and I thought, okay, we went through the emotions and rechecking the vibrational frequency of each emotion, and then we adjusted couple based on pretty much the experience that we have gained from doing the vibrational frequency analysis for thousands of people. I think we, up to this point, we probably have done over 200,000 calibrations, and we determined that the 50, that's where the 5 points were missing. And then detachment not only made more sense to replace that for apathy, but also the vibrational frequency was 55 instead of 50, right? So once I did that, I made that adjustment. Few other things unfolded. The first one was, as you can see here, the full scale, right? Now we have the pattern identified from the chakra system from 200 to 1000. Now here having the full-blown scale, that pattern has been replicated by adjusting the detachment to 55. Now we have 1000, which signifies ultimate truth, right? Now next, all these nines started to show up. And I thought, okay, this 9 signifies completion, fulfillment, also the end of a cycle, which from the chakra system was a number 1. But in this case, when you add all the levels that we have, which we have 18 levels, the 18th represents the 1000 frequency, you get the 171, reduce that to 1 digit, and it's 9, right? Yes, here, I clicked it. And that of the 18 levels, 8 plus 1 is 9 as well. Then I added all the frequencies from 0 to, or from 20 to 1000, and you get 5580, which reduced to 1 digit is 9 as well. Yes. Then this is a little pyramid that came to be really without wanting to draw a pyramid or come up with a pyramid. And this actually came to mind on our way to Bosnia.
Mm-hmm.
As crazy as that sounds, that's exactly how it happened. But I couldn't do it on the airplane because I had to do it in my mind And I didn't want to make a mistake, so I waited until I arrived in Bosnia to write it down or put it in my notes. So here we have the gap between 1 and 18, 17. The gap between 17 and 2 is 15. 3 and 16 is 13. And you keep going, 11, 9, 7, 5, 3, and 1. Well, the little pyramid was formed. Again, the totals of adding all the levels is 171, reduced to 1 is 9. The total of 18 levels reduced to 1 digit is also 9. So it was like a confirmation as of that the scale makes more sense to be 18 levels instead of 17 levels. And instead of having it to where level 17 begins at 700 and from 700 to 1000 is the last level of the scale, it made more sense and resonates more, and it feels aligned for it to be 18 levels. Yes? To where we have 17th level is illumination at 700, and the 18th level is inner essence at 1000. Now, when you sum the digits of each frequency, like humiliation is 20, and you just reduce that to 1 digit. 2, disgrace 30, reduce it to 1 digit. 3, detachment 55, reduce it to 1 digit. 1, sorrow 75, 12, and you keep going all the way to inner essence, which is 1000, reduced to 1 digit is 1. You add all these numbers and you get a 108. We know how significant the 108 is, right? But then reduced to 1 digit, we get 9 as well. Now, when you go to the frequency ranges from 0 to 19, from 20 to 29, from 30 to 54, 55 to 74, you go all the way down to 1000. And then you use the range summit of digits, like in this case is 9 plus 1 is 10. You reduce it to 1 digit is 1. 20 and 29, you reduce it to 1 digit is 4. You keep going all the way to 1000, which is 1. And the totals is 81. And reduced to 1 digit is 9. Now you use the ranges, the 0-19, and remove the dash. Now you have 19, 0-19, right? 20-29, you remove the dash. Now you have 2029. 30-54, you remove the dash. You have 3054. Heroism, 200-249. You remove the dash. You have 200,249, and you keep going all the way to the last frequency ranges is 700-999. And you remove the dash, you have 700,999, and then the 1000 on its own. You add all of these numbers, ranges without dash, and you come up with 4,424,562. You reduce that to 1 digit, and you also have a 9.
Isn't that amazing? It's showing universe is communicating through numbers.
Mm-hmm. So here we have all of the
sum of what you've done.
Previous slides, pretty much, most of them in here. To see all these 9s, right? That appeared. And so I went into what is 9? What does it mean? And when I did that at the beginning, when I first came across the first 9, I was just curious. And when that happened, I said, okay, there's got to be more. And all these things, do this, do that, do this, do that. It was just coming at different times, right? But it confirmed that not only that we have the 1000 as the gap by making that adjustment of having the frequency of 55 instead of 50, and then coming up with all these number nines that were unfolding, confirmed that the 55 was the frequency that needed to be adjusted, and the levels needed to be at 18 instead of 17, right? Now, under the 4 levels of consciousness, in this case, I did to see if there was a pattern. Well, you have the same victimization, frequency range 20-199. And without the dash, you remove the dash, you also get 1,422,396, and reduced to 1 digit is 9. And then you add the ranges, the range numbers. 20 out of the frequency range, which is 20-199, the range numbers are 20 and then 199. And then between 200-499, the ranges will be 200 and then underneath 499. 500-699, the range numbers will be 500 and then 699. The range is 700-999. It will be 700 plus 999. And that gives you a total of 3,816. And reduced to 1 digit is also a 9. So the frequency of 1000, as we know, is the limit that we have established for the human experience. But I personally believe that it's not really, they were not limited to experience up to just to have the 1000 as a limit. That we can actually have the ability to experience much higher frequencies. And again, it's based on our level of readiness. And also, I feel that because of the level of density, that it is something that we can experience, but for a very limited time, right? Because we wouldn't be able to hold it. We'll definitely, possibly disintegrate. Now, we measured the frequency of the frequencies of awakening, which is our chart, frequencies of awakening.
Scale.
A scale. And the overall frequency is 1000. Impact on human perception, 1000. Impact on humanity, 310. The eagerness, I guess, eagerness to experience it. Impact on spiritual growth, 700. Alignment with divine purpose, 100%. Alignment with its mission, 100%. And we also measure alignment with hermetic principles, 100%. So obviously we wanted to get the measurements before going live, right? Just to confirm that that is in line with what we feel, and that it is in alignment, and it is actually something that is worth sharing, right? Now, there's a quote, I like this quote: "The laws of nature are but mathematical thoughts of God." That's Euclid. I think it's a beautiful quote. It sums it all up when it comes to, the language of the universe, which is mathematics. Now, when it comes to the number 9, it's this last single digit number, often found in religion and science. And then we know there are 9 cycles in numerology, 9 months in pregnancy, which are I thought it was amazing. And then number 9, when multiplied, it always produces itself. culmination of a cycle, which applies to the scale of consciousness, right? Fulfillment and completion. And it also symbolizes universal love, perfection, personal growth, eternity, and a spiritual enlightenment. And when it comes to the number 9, also I found that when you divide the orbit of the Earth around the sun into 27 segments, 27 is 2 plus 7 is 9 as well, and then into 4 equal sectors. So it's 4 multiplied by 27 equals 108, which is also reduced to 1 digit as a 9. Earth takes 108 steps through a space. Then each segment corresponds to 1/2 of the lunar orbit around the Earth. The cycles within the human body respond and correspond to that as well. The diameter of the sun multiplied by 108 equals the distance between sun and Earth. The diameter of the moon multiplied by 108 equals the distance between Earth and moon. And the diameter of the sun is 108 times the diameter of the Earth. Also, it takes 72 years for the Earth's axis to pass through 1 degree of the zodiac, and 25,920 years to complete a full circle of 360 degrees. Now, 25,920 years reduced to 1 digit is 9 as well. Yes? So it's at the 72 years. 70,
and 360 degrees.
And the 360 degrees. Half of this journey takes 12,960 years and encompasses the 4 yugas. Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga. When we combine the durations of these 4 yugas, we arrive at a total of 12,960 years, which is also reduced to 1 digit, equals 9. 9 signifies truth. 9 is signifies truth in Hebrew. Emet means truth in Hebrew. Letter and numerical values, these are the Hebrew letters, right? Which are pretty much what Emet is. And the first one is, the numeric value is 1, the second one 40, and the third one is 400, which is reduced to 1 digit, is also a 9. Consider that summoning the digits of the numbers represented by the Hebrew letters of the name Adam or Adam results in the number 9. I thought that was amazing. 9 is called the Mispar, Katan, literally a small number of Adam or Adam, which alludes to the essential quality of man.
Which is a 9.
Which is a 9. Now we go into the number 1,000. 1,000 symbolizes the highest level of consciousness as we know it, a state of perfect unity and enlightenment, like the crown chakra and the 1,000 petals. It's found in religions and mythology. It's also found in numerology, and it signifies abundance, achievement, and the fulfillment of potential. It also signifies cosmic completion and wholeness. Now, we have heard often, I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, those that remain awake and alert, the Tesla 369, right? There's really no clear blueprint of what it is he did or used the 369 for, but there's one clear evidence that there is definitely a pattern where one can find the 369. At first, I did it with the scale, going from 1 through 18. There's also something that just came to mind, and I sat down, I followed instructions, and I just drew it, you know? Levels from 1 through 18. You add 1 plus 2 is 3, and then the 3 you single out, and you copy the 3 on the right side, and then you add 4 plus 5 is 9, and then the 6 is singled out, 6, and then 7 plus 8 is 15, 5 plus 1 is 6, and then you single out the 9, and then 10 plus 11 is 21, 2 plus 1 is 3, and then you have the 12, which is 3. Then you have pretty much you single out, you add the first 2 numbers in blocks of 2, and then you single out the third one. Yes, and then you see how the 369 appears. Now, when the 369 appears, is every time you single out the third number. And when you find the first 9 is under the level 9, which is the level of heroism, where the frequency is 200. And that represents the fulfillment of a cycle. In the beginning, obviously, of a new one, because nothing ends as we know it, right? It's always a continuation. It always continues indefinitely. And then the second time it appears, as you single out, well, the 18 is 8 plus 1 is 9. That falls into the frequency of 1000, which is the highest level for the human experience. And this signifies completion, wholeness, right? Fulfillment. Another completion of another cycle. And of course, not to say that it's the end, because it's not the end, because it continues, right? Rather, for those that exit this reality at the frequency of 500, 400, or 50, it still continues. Or if you exit this reality, going to the non-physical at the frequency of 1000, it still continues one way or another, because we know there are much higher frequencies in the universe to be experienced, and they are being experienced, you know, and we have confirmed that from our findings.
And then, of course, you guys know how we've been applying those frequencies, looking at 36 different categories. And guess what? 36 is equal to 9. Isn't that cool?
And that was definitely not also thought of from the beginning, as of that we want to come up with a number 9, or we want to create this number of categories to be analyzed, you know?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now we'll take your questions. I just think this is brilliant discoveries, and just truly remarkable of how universe communicates through mathematics. The language of mathematics and patterns are everywhere. And it's just fascinating that, and also I would say it's important to stay open, because even though we've used the scale for so many years, it has evolved. You guys have been a part of it. You have seen the evolution, and Alejandro is amazing at finding patterns and giving credit to where did it all originate from. And this is such a beautiful, I would say, lesson for all of us to understand that it comes from ancient Vedic texts and how truly everything is connected.
Well, yes, I will say that in this reality, we can say that.
Mhm.
But really,
You know what I thought about?
where
Like,
everything comes
Mhm.
is from the same source to where everyone draws their information from.
I just thought about there's 72 names of God in Kabbalism. There's 99 names of God in Sufism. And in Hinduism, right, there's 108 names. So if you add each one, they all equal to 9. They're all reduced to number 9.
Yes.
Yes. She wants to know, how do you sleep with all that running through you, Alejandro?
You know,
Yeah.
the slide of the 369, I hope made it so quickly
This
because I
morning.
didn't mine at night. And then I was doing numbers in my head and I couldn't go to sleep. And I said, oh my God, I have to sleep. And yes. And I thought, okay, it makes total sense. And that's what Nikola Tesla, I feel, was fascinated by, the patterns that he identified. Because if you continue to whatever number it is that once reduced to one digit gives you a 9, you will have, and do the same, you add the first 2, and then you single out the third one, you will have a sequence of indefinite or infinite 369s, no matter what. So I also thought, I never knew about it. So when I came across this by just looking at it, I thought, wow, this is amazing. And then I'm going to Google to see what's the deal about this 369 number. And that's when I didn't really find much about it, to how is it that
There's
he
no literature on it.
implemented that in his work. There's no evidence, but people say that is how he used, I guess, to get it was the code of the universe, right? There's actually, it says, his quote was, if you only knew the magnificence of the 3, 6, and 9, then you would have the key of the universe. That was Tesla's quote. So yes, that's all I have for you today.
It's pretty big. And no one has ever done this before with the scale of consciousness. This is brand new information, tying in the mathematics. It's huge, yes. And the universal meaning behind all of it.
And finding the balance. But yes, it was so close without having that in mind, right? Without
It's divine.
considering mathematics. It was so close. But that's what I unfolded
Yes.
after making that adjustment and going deeper into it. I think it's, it just happens. There's nothing that we can really argue about, because the numbers tell you the whole story.
The whole story. And we've tested and retested the frequencies of every emotion, just so you guys know. And this is really, we've presented to you the complete scale that has never existed up until this day. Well, no one else has presented it up until this date. So it's actually, you have an absolutely complete picture, and be certain, based on the mathematics, that it is meant to be how it is.
If I may,
yes.
If I may,
Mhm.
I would say that it is for this time.
For this time, things will evolve.
That this scale is the way it is, to bring balance, to offer balance, and to offer a balanced point of reference for what is needed, right? Until who knows when, I have no idea, but we'll keep you updated. Somehow something comes through to where we feel compelled to make or pulled to make an adjustment, and it actually the numbers
make sense
and tells a bigger story, right? To compensate or to justify.
Like any science, there has to be progress. So we always say that this is what's presented to you guys now, and who knows, in the future, maybe somebody else will come up and they will have something new that they've discovered. But this is really a beautiful completion. So Alejandro did an amazing job.
I was just taking notes.
He always wants to know, where do things come from, and the search for the truth, right, or desire to want to understand everything in a much deeper way brings you closer to and connected to in such a divine way, where numbers just show themselves and reveal. And thank you for putting it together, and also to Hope, who put all those beautiful images together so you guys can see it.
Yes, a special thanks to Hope, especially
Yes.
today.
Yes, and it seems that each cycle of 9 is a fractal of the next one, and that is exactly what we talked about yesterday. Yes.
Exactly. Yes, perfect. Beautifully said.
So now you guys know from a mathematical perspective that this is a complete system, and I just think
what
it's
it
beautiful.
means, what it also means, right? The 9 and the 1000. Yes, it's just fascinating. And all this correlations as well with the earth, the sun, the moon,
9
the
months
yugas,
pregnancies, yes,
okay?
everything, yes,
9
absolutely.
cycles in numerology as well. And the way it falls, I just thought I was fascinated by the 369, my own discovery, which I didn't have. I realized that definitely I wasn't the first one doing it, but I thought I was still fascinated by it because it just happened, right? And then the other one was the number 9, and I thought, wow, this is truly amazing how it just happens and information just flows. And when you pay attention and do not judge it or overanalyze it and just go with the flow, the pieces start falling into place magically, right? And this is I will say that this is a great example of what we have been saying throughout, because I'm sure that everyone experiences it.
Shadow wants to know how was when you had the epiphany.
Oh my God, every time something came through, I was like the little pyramid that was formed. Those numbers were coming, the 18 levels, because I'm questioning everything, right? About the 18 levels. 17 or 18 levels. No, it's already 18 levels. Yes, but why is it? Okay, and then boom, the numbers start coming to mind, and I'm going, oh my God! But as soon as it came through, I felt like alignment feels like filled with joy. It's something so simple, because it really is. I mean, I studied mathematics in a very complicated mathematics, but this is really simple. It's more about putting the pieces of the puzzle together, and to where it creates a bigger resonance, I will say, right? But yeah, I felt so like I was filled with love, bliss, and all that, and I super excited and couldn't wait to arrive to Bosnia. And then so when after I sent the drawing with the numbers to Hope, and Hope puts it together, and I see the pyramid, I'm going, oh my God, this is crazy.
Sandra says, do you know the work of Alan Green? I actually have watched a couple of his episodes. Alejandro hasn't, but this past week we were having a conversation with a mutual friend who is friends with Alan Green. So Alejandro has not seen his work, but it just shows you, right, that when you're open, information flows regardless of if you're seeking for that truth, right? It will just come through in such a beautiful way. And that is just amazing that we can share it with all of you, and also know that there's other scales that have been presented, but none of them have been complete until this point. 1,000 year is the reign of Christ, ages and beyond 1,000. Wow. Okay, well, there you go.
Amazing.
Yes.
Like during the last episode about AI, right? I also thought that was crazy when it came to mind to check the number of generations.
Oh,
I
yeah.
had no idea. And I
72.
go, okay, well, what is the point of reference? I'm not going to find anything online about the future from here to 2000 and 2200, right? But I look back and there was the 77 generations from Adam to Jesus.
77 or 72?
77.
77.
And then from Jesus to year 2200, based on the actual, well, you have to adjust the factor, which makes sense. But to estimate it was at 28.57, I think it is the right number. And it also gives you 77 generations, from Jesus to 2200. And looking at the frequency of 1,000, and it looks like that's when we're going to be experiencing utopia to its fullest extent, to what we all are seeking for, right? Well,
the future generation.
The idea that we have of utopia now, there will be a reality then. It makes total sense. I don't know. There has to be a correlation between that, 77 generations from Adam to Jesus and 77 generations from Jesus to year 2200. But whatever comes to you, feel free to share it with us. We would love to hear what comes to you, or what you feel is the correlation.